Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into some seriously profound and honestly super motivating concepts hidden inside a remarkably short poem called Building Blocks. You know, sometimes the absolute best insights about human growth and purpose don't come from massive heavy textbooks. They come from simple, striking metaphors that just click. And that's exactly what we're going to deconstruct today, piece by piece, to really understand the architecture of purpose.
So, let's kick things off by confronting the ultimate cost of comfort. It's a universal question we all have to face eventually. What must you leave behind to move forward? We almost always think of growth as adding things, right? Acquiring new skills, building new relationships, stacking up new titles. But this explainer is going to completely flip that idea on its head. As we'll see, true, meaningful growth absolutely requires abandonment. You simply cannot reach your ultimate utility if you refuse to leave your comfortable little resting spot.
First up, let's meet Oluyomi Oladede.
But before we really unpack her metaphors, we need to understand exactly who she is and what drives her worldview. Knowing her background gives us the perfect lens to view these words through. The insights we're exploring today actually come from a collection of her writings published back in June 2023. They cover a lot of ground, from technical pieces to policy briefs, but it's in her deeper contemplations, like this poem, where her core philosophy really takes center stage.
Looking at her background, she is a Nigerian who just genuinely loves people. She is deeply, deeply invested in global development. And she's not just sitting around theorizing. She is actively out there generating solutions and influencing real-world policy to provide clarity for others. Fundamentally, her entire worldview is guided by her faith in a Father God who, as she puts it, owns and rules the universe. So when she writes about growth, she's doing it from a place of rock-solid conviction about our human potential.
Moving into our next section, leaving comfort for utility. The very core of her poem focuses on this idea that we have to surrender physical comfort. She draws this beautiful, sharp contrast between a stagnant before and a purposeful after. On one hand, we have the familiar, the tray, the lounge, the shore, the stale grass. These are safe, predictable places. But on the other side, we have the actual purpose, becoming useful, doing business, discovering treasure, growing a garden. She's drawing a direct line for us, showing that to get from safety to purpose, you literally have to make a move. Think about this specific line for a second. Ice leaves tray to become useful. It's so simple, but it hits the nail right on the head. Potential means absolutely nothing if it stays frozen in its mold. Ice in a tray is just cold water trapped in a shape. Sure, it's safe in the freezer, but it's just taking up space. It only does its job, whether that's cooling down your drink or bringing down a swelling, when it's actually removed from the thing that formed it.
And she brilliantly keeps this pattern going. Notice how she repeatedly uses the word leaves. An insect has to leave the colony to learn prudence out in the wild. The concept of easy has to get up out of the lounge to actually do business. A ship is totally safe at the shore, but it has to leave the dock if it's ever going to discover treasure. Even a sheep has to move on from stale grass to help grow a new garden. She is hammering home the reality that progress demands an exit strategy.
Which brings us to a tougher challenge: relinquishing pride for growth. She doesn't stop at just leaving physical spaces. She challenges us to abandon something way harder to let go of: our own egos. True growth demands absolute humility. Look at this line. Title leaves chair to stand corrected. Wow. I mean, we all know that comfortable chair of authority that comes with the title, whether you're a manager, a doctor, or an expert. But she's telling us that to actually learn, you have to stand up out of that chair, check your pride at the door, and be willing to admit you're wrong. She shows us how prestige can actually be a total trap that keeps us from reaching our potential. Take an earl, for example, born into serious privilege. That gold platter life is super alluring, but they have to walk away from it if they ever want to do something that actually makes history. And then she writes, tower leaves lofty village to conquer self. A tower naturally looks down on everything. It's isolated. To truly conquer your inner flaws, you have to step down from that lofty, isolated pedestal.
Let's look at where all this is heading, etching the future. So, what is the ultimate goal here? She outlines this clear step-by-step progression from moving past chaotic experiences toward building a concrete future. She writes, disorder leaves experience to learn unity. We all go through chaotic, messy experiences, but we have to actively leave that chaos behind if we ever want to find cohesion and unity. It's all about refining our reality, step by step.
And then she hits us with this: dream leaves the familiar to etch future. Honestly, this might be the most powerful thought in the whole piece.
By definition, a dream is just a vision of something that doesn't exist yet. It cannot become reality unless it steps totally out of what is known. And notice her choice of the word etch. Etching isn't passive. It's a permanent, deliberate, often really tough process of carving into a hard surface. Creating the future requires permanently marking the world, and you can only do that by leaving the familiar.
So, let's wrap this up with the most important question. What will you leave? We've explored these incredible building blocks laid out by Oluyomi Ola-David, and now we have to turn that mirror right back on ourselves. We know the ice has to leave the tray. The titles have to leave the chair. The dreams have to leave the familiar. So which comfort zone must you leave today to etch your future? Are you sitting too comfortably in the chair of your title? Are you a ship playing it safe at the shore? Or are you the ice, refusing to leave the tray to actually become useful? Remember, potential is literally just a theory until you take action. Your future is waiting to be etched, but it's going to cost you your comfort zone. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope this gives you the push you need to step out of your own tray today.